You think women play games with silence, mixed signals. But the truth is, they start playing you long before any of that happens. It doesn't begin with her pulling away. It begins with one word: soft, casual. But it's a move, a test, a way to gain control without ever being held accountable. And if you've ever felt confused, over-invested, or like you were trying too hard, it started with that word. She said it. You didn't question it. And that's exactly why it worked. Comment: never again. Number 1. I'm busy. You message her in the morning, something light like, hope you have a good day. And by nightfall there's still no reply. But instead of facing what's in front of you, you make excuses for her in your head. You tell yourself maybe she's working or drained or she just forgot. But the truth is far less complicated. She saw your message, she just didn't prioritize it because in her mind there's no cost to treating your attention like a waiting room. And it's not because she's evil or heartless. It's because you never made it costly to ignore you. She knows you'll be there when she circles back. She knows you'll pick up on the first ring, reply instantly, say yes, even when it burns you inside. And every time she says, I've just been so busy, she's not giving you her truth. She's testing yours, your threshold for self-betrayal, your ability to stay loyal to your own standards when someone you want begins treating you like an option. And in that moment, the lie isn't hers, it's yours, because you tell yourself you're being patient, mature, understanding, but deep down you feel it. The emptiness of chasing someone who's barely leaning in, and you justify it all in the name of potential. But potential doesn't mean anything when someone doesn't act on it. The girl who wants you makes time. She doesn't just respond. She initiates, she checks in, she brings energy. She doesn't need perfect conditions to show she values you. She shows it through the smallest effort, because that's what real interest looks like. And if she's always busy, if her energy is inconsistent, if you find yourself wondering where you stand, then you already have your answer, and you might think stepping back will make you lose her, but you've already lost her the moment you allowed her to treat you like a plan B without consequence, because when someone knows they can disappear and come back to applause, they'll keep doing it, and you can't blame them. You trained them to. You showed them that silence gets rewarded with more effort, with longer texts, with softer boundaries. And that's how respect dies, not in a loud rejection, but in 1,000 quiet moments, where you choose tolerance over truth. And this is where your life can either shrink or grow. You either keep orbiting around someone who doesn't center you, or you re-center yourself, not out of spite, but out of alignment. And that means not responding immediately when someone's shown you they respond to you only when it's convenient. It means putting your phone down and building your vision instead of waiting for breadcrumbs, because a person who is actually overwhelmed and still values you will find ways to say so. They'll show presence even in their absence. They'll let you know you matter. But a person who just keeps you around for ego fuel will always find new ways to justify their distance. And the more you accommodate that, the further you fall from yourself. And this is why Stoic discipline matters. Because it teaches you that your peace is not something you beg others to preserve. It's something you build brick by brick in your habits, in your emotional responses, in how quickly you give energy to things that drain it. And when you decide to no longer tolerate being a backup plan, when you start choosing solitude over inconsistency, when you stop handing out your presence like a flyer no one asked for, you change, not into something cold, but into someone focused. And the moment she notices she can no longer reach you with a 2-word excuse, that's the moment you become a different kind of man in her eyes, not the one she keeps on the bench, but the one she realizes she can't play anymore. And whether she comes back or not doesn't matter, because you've already moved forward, and forward is where life happens. Forward is where dignity lives. Forward is where the ones who truly value you are waiting. Not because you begged them to see you, but because you became someone impossible to ignore. And if you're ready to fully step into that version of yourself, the one that no longer bends for confusion or begs for crumbs, then the Stoic relationship. Blueprint was created for you, a direct, timeless guide built on principles that don't just sound good, but change lives, and now it's available in audiobook form, so you don't have to wait. Walk with it, jog with it, grow with it in your ears and in your mind, because this isn't just a book, it's a blueprint to rebuild your standards, reset your peace, and never again feel lost in someone else's emotional maze. And once it's yours, it's always yours. Yours to revisit, yours to sharpen yourself with, yours to lean on when life gets loud and relationships get unclear. So check the comments, get your copy, and start listening today. Because peace doesn't come when they stop playing games. It comes when you stop participating in them. Number 2. Maybe. She says maybe with a smile, like it's soft, like it's harmless, like it's innocent, but it's not. Because that word is one of the sharpest tools she has to keep you in her emotional pocket without offering anything in return. It's not an answer. It's a leash. It's not an invitation. It's a cage. And the most dangerous part is you don't even realize the bars are closing around you. You think you're being patient. You think you're giving her time. But what you're really doing is sacrificing your clarity, your self-respect, your emotional peace for the fantasy that maybe if you wait long enough, maybe if you're nice enough, maybe if you don't pressure her, maybe if you prove your worth, she'll finally say yes. But she won't, because she already knows. She knew the second she said it. She knew she wasn't going to follow through. She just didn't want to commit to telling you that directly, and instead of respecting your time, she plays with it. She tosses it around like it's disposable because you never made it expensive for her to waste it. And this is how the game starts. Not with lies, but with half-truths and delayed answers, because maybe keeps you close enough to hope, but far enough from reality. It keeps you emotionally parked, unable to move forward, unable to let go, stuck in a cycle of anticipation and disappointment, checking your phone, reading between lines, telling your friends it's complicated, justifying her silence with optimism. But deep down, you know what's going on. You feel it. That nagging unease that tells you she's not really confused. She's just keeping you as an option, as a backup, as a feel-good distraction for when things with someone else don't work out. And the truth is, you allow it. You enable it every time you entertain that maybe, every time you hold back your standards just to stay in her good graces. And this is where most men lose themselves, not in rejection, but in the slow erosion of dignity through indefinite waiting. And the solution isn't to demand answers. It's not to beg for clarity. It's to stop investing in potential and start investing in truth. And the truth is this: anyone who really wants you doesn't say maybe. They say when. They make space. They create moments. They don't stall or spin stories or dodge directness. They show up with certainty because interest doesn't hide behind ambiguity. It stands up boldly and claims what it wants. And when you don't see that, when you don't feel that, when you're stuck in confusion, the answer isn't patience. It's departure, it's disconnection, it's the quiet choice to step away and reclaim your time, not because you're angry, but because you respect yourself too much to be emotionally parked on someone else's runway. And this is where you grow. When you stop chasing maybe and start chasing your purpose. When you stop asking for someone to see your worth and start building a life where your worth is so obvious that no one would dare hesitate. And the only way to do that is by detaching from comfort, from fantasy, from the illusion that she just needs more time to choose you. Because she doesn't. She's already chosen. And if it's not you, then you're wasting your energy trying to convince someone who's already decided. And that's not noble. That's not romantic. That's not masculine. That's self-abandonment. And it's time to end it, to walk, to elevate, to become someone who sees a maybe as a hard no, because he values decisiveness, direction, and emotional clarity. And that doesn't mean you become cold or bitter. It means you become precise, intentional, unattached to outcomes, loyal only to truth, and that's where your power returns. Not in controlling others, but in controlling what you tolerate, what you respond to, what you allow into your life. And from that place, no one can keep you circling. No one can hold your hope hostage, because your hope is no longer placed in maybe. It's placed in movement, in growth, in real alignment. And when you build that, you'll see her maybe for what it always was, a distraction dressed as a possibility. And you won't need her to say yes anymore, because you'll be too busy building a life that only accepts certainty. Number 3. I need space. She says she needs space, and everything in you starts spinning, because just last week she was all over you, texting first, laughing loud, calling you late, telling you how much she loved being around you, and now out of nowhere she drops a sentence that flips your world upside down, not because of what it says, but because of what it doesn't. Because when someone asks for space without context, without real clarity, what they're doing is pulling back without taking accountability, creating distance without admitting disinterest. And you feel it immediately, that pit in your chest, that pressure in your thoughts, the need to fix it, to understand it, to hold on just a little longer. But this is where you're being watched, not with eyes, but with silence. She's not just asking for space. She's studying your reaction to it. She's testing if you'll spiral, if you'll chase, if you'll shrink into the version of you that loses himself the moment she stops clapping for you, and most do. Most men get quiet, get soft, get compliant, thinking that space is something noble to allow, something wise to give. And while you should never force yourself into someone's life, you must recognize when space isn't about self-reflection. It's about repositioning, about placing you in a box where she doesn't have to say goodbye, but also doesn't have to be responsible for your expectations anymore. And this is where you need to wake up, because if someone needs space and they truly value you, they'll explain why, they'll communicate, they'll anchor the relationship before drifting. But if they leave you with, "I just need space," and nothing else, they are indirectly preparing your heart for detachment, while keeping your hope on standby, just in case they change their mind. And you must understand this. People don't run from what they value, they protect it. They hold it tighter when it's slipping, not looser. And if she lets you go that easily, and expects you to wait without definition, she's telling you more with her absence than she ever did with her words. And this is where the Stoic principle must be lived, not just learned, because if your peace is truly your priority, you do not cling to ambiguity. You do not sit in waiting rooms of people who once chose you boldly, but now only speak to you in indirect signals. And the solution is not to react, not to chase, not to explain yourself into being chosen again. It is to respond with stillness, to create your own distance, to become so deeply anchored in your path that no one's absence can derail your direction. And that doesn't mean you fake detachment. It means you embrace it. You accept the reality you're given instead of begging for the fantasy you were shown in the beginning. Because the one who can leave you confused by saying they need space is the same one who will leave you in pieces if you allow that pattern to continue unchecked. And you have to get honest with yourself here. How many times have you waited for someone to come back only to find out they were never returning? How many times have you misinterpreted space as a break when it was really a breakup in disguise? How many times have you sat in silence, hoping that silence would fix what only honesty could? And this is where you transform, not through tactics, but through discipline. The discipline to remove yourself from any dynamic that feels like a negotiation of your worth. The discipline to replace waiting with working. The discipline to let people go when they say they need space without feeling like you've lost something, because you haven't. What you've lost is the illusion that they were invested, and what you've gained is the opportunity to return to yourself, to your grind, your goals, your growth. And that's the only space you ever need to give. Space between who you were when you depended on inconsistent people for happiness and who you now choose to become when you decide that nothing and no one comes before your peace, your focus, and your evolution. And once you embrace this fully, you will never again beg for attention that disappears. You will never again plead with someone to stay who's already halfway out the door. You will never again interpret space as something temporary when it is clearly permanent, because now you see it, now you live it, now you don't just know your worth, you walk like it. Number 4. You deserve better. She looks at you with that soft expression, the one that used to mean affection, but now it carries something else behind it, a quiet dismissal disguised as care. And when she says those words, you deserve better, you feel it all collapse inside of you, because it sounds noble, it sounds selfless, but it's not. It's a carefully packaged exit strategy wrapped in emotional guilt, a way for her to abandon the situation without looking like she gave up, a way to walk away while still holding the high ground, and you sit there absorbing those words like they mean something profound, like maybe she's right, maybe you do deserve better. But that doesn't ease the sting, because what she's really saying is this: I no longer want to invest in you, but I also don't want to be seen as the one who hurt you. And so she transfers that burden back to you, paints her disinterest as your reward, tells you that walking away from you is some kind of gift she's giving you. But you need to understand what's really happening here. She's not being kind, she's being cowardly, because people who truly care about you don't disappear while saying you're valuable. They don't leave you in confusion while claiming you're amazing. They don't exit with compliments while handing you silence. They fight for you. They stay with you. They show up even when things get inconvenient. And when someone tells you that you deserve better, what they're often saying is, I'm not willing to become the version of myself that would deserve someone like you. And instead of admitting that, I'm going to make it about you. And this is the exact moment where most men lose themselves, because they don't hear it as rejection. They hear it as potential. They think maybe she still cares. Maybe she's protecting them. Maybe if they just wait or prove something, she'll come back. But she won't, because if she wanted to stay, she would have. And if she wanted to be better for you, she'd have tried. And that's what you must face with full honesty. That your value was recognized, just not enough to be chosen. And that realization hurts. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you placed your time, your love, your loyalty in someone who wasn't willing to match it. And when you hear you deserve better, you must resist the urge to prove your worth again. You must stop chasing after someone who just confirmed with their own words that they're not in this with you anymore, and instead use that pain as your pivot point, not to become bitter, not to seek revenge, but to redirect every ounce of energy you spent trying to be enough into building a life that doesn't entertain people who leave when it gets real, because the truth is, the better you deserve isn't out there somewhere. It's built in the way you begin to value your own time, in the way you say no to people who say maybe, in the way you stop entertaining relationships that require you to beg for clarity. And that kind of life doesn't wait for apologies. It doesn't demand closure. It moves forward. It upgrades. It heals without asking for validation. Because when you truly begin to embody self-respect, you no longer get attached to words like, you deserve better, because you already know, you already live it, and no one gets to tell you what you deserve after rejecting you. They lost that right the moment they treated you like an afterthought, and you don't need their words to justify your exit. You need your standards, your self-command, your focus on things that don't depend on someone else's opinion to have value. And from that place, you stop looking at heartbreak like it's a curse and start seeing it as a recalibration, a divine redirection, a pushback into your own lane where your energy is no longer wasted trying to convince someone of your worth, because your worth doesn't get proven, it gets protected, it gets guarded, it gets expressed in how you live, how you walk, how you respond when someone says you deserve better while choosing to walk away. And the real flex isn't in trying to change their mind. It's in becoming so rooted in who you are that you don't flinch when someone fails to see your value, because the one who's walking away thinking you're too good isn't blessing you with wisdom. They're revealing their limits, and your job isn't to lower your light to make them more comfortable. Your job is to shine so consistently that only those who are willing to rise meet you where you stand. And from this moment forward, you don't chase answers. You don't beg for second chances. You don't hold the door open for people who already walked out with compliments in their mouth and confusion in your heart. You rebuild, you upgrade, and you never look back. Number 5. You're such a good guy. She smiles and says it like it's a compliment, like she's honoring you with this badge of approval. You're such a good guy. And for a moment you feel proud, flattered even, until you realize that those 5 words are often the softest way someone tells you they don't see you the way you want to be seen. They don't desire you, they don't choose you, they just appreciate your presence because it's convenient, because it's safe, because it feeds something in them without requiring them to give anything back. And the more you hear it, the more you realize it's not praise, it's pacification. It's the emotional equivalent of being benched in a game you trained for. You show up consistently, you listen, you support, you invest. But you never get played in the actual game, because in her eyes, you're valuable enough to keep around, but never enough to be prioritized. And that's what cuts the deepest. Not that she dislikes you, but that she likes everything about you except the part where she actually commits. And you tell yourself, maybe if you wait longer, maybe if you're even nicer, maybe if you fix yourself just a little more, she'll see it. She'll change her mind, but she won't, because you've already been filed under the category of comfort, not connection, convenience, not craving. And when a person puts you there, the only way out isn't to prove them wrong, it's to walk, not because you're bitter, but because you finally understand that your worth doesn't rise with more approval. It rises with your boundaries, and this is where the truth hits. Being a good guy means nothing if your goodness isn't respected, if it's not paired with standards, if it doesn't include the ability to walk away from people who only want the safe version of you, not the whole you. And this is where you begin to transform, not by becoming cold or vengeful, but by realizing that your identity isn't dependent on being liked. It's dependent on being aligned, and alignment means you stop trying to be the peace in everyone else's life while ignoring the chaos they bring into yours. It means you stop taking pride in being the fallback, the listener, the fixer, the shoulder, because you were not born to be a support system for someone else's indecision. And if all she ever says is that you're such a good guy, but never moves toward you, never builds with you, never makes you feel chosen, then she's not complimenting you, she's disarming you, she's using validation to keep you still, to keep you available without having to be available in return. And the longer you stay in that place, the more you lose touch with your power, with your hunger, with the part of you that was meant to lead, to build, to protect your own direction with such intensity that no one gets to distract you with empty flattery. And that's what it is, empty. Because real compliments come with real action, real connection, real intention, not vague smiles and breadcrumb affection. And the only reason you stay in it is because you haven't yet faced the deeper truth, that you're scared to be without her, scared to not be liked, scared to be alone. And until you face that, until you sit with that discomfort and decide you'd rather be alone in peace than surrounded in confusion, you'll keep shrinking to fit someone's emotional needs while abandoning your own. And this is where discipline saves you. The discipline to remove yourself from dynamics where you're being managed, not loved, where you're being kept, not chosen, And it starts the moment you stop mistaking being a good guy for being a man with value. Because value isn't about being nice, it's about being real. And real men know when they're being used as a placeholder, and they don't argue or explain or wait. They exit, they elevate, they evolve. And when you do that, when you stop seeking validation from people who only give you just enough to keep you close, your energy changes, your direction sharpens, your time becomes sacred, and you begin to attract people who don't just see your goodness but match it, who don't just compliment your loyalty but reciprocate it, who don't just like your presence but fight for your position in their life. And that kind of connection doesn't come when you're trying to be someone's favorite option. It comes when you become your own highest priority, when you stop auditioning for approval and start embodying the standard. And from that place, "You're such a good guy" no longer excites you, because it's not enough. Because now you want truth, clarity, consistency. You want someone who sees you clearly and doesn't hesitate, and you'll never find that while you're still trapped in the echo chamber of polite rejection. So from now on, you don't accept compliments as substitutes. For commitment, you don't cling to praise that comes with no presence, and you don't let yourself be the emotional safety net for someone who doesn't have the courage to let you go or the depth to love you fully. You walk, you build, you rise, and you do it without looking back. If you felt the confusion, the waiting, the second-guessing, the chasing that leads nowhere, then this isn't just a video, it's your wake-up call, because no one's coming to save you from the games, from the emotional breadcrumbing, from the years of silence that follow being the good guy, except you. And if you're truly ready to stop being controlled by mixed signals and finally take back your peace, your time and your power, then you need the Stoic relationship blueprint, a brutal, clear and timeless guide built for men who are done being manipulated and ready to lead. And now it's in audiobook form so you can listen to it while walking, jogging, building your life in real time. And the moment you claim it, it's yours forever, powerful and permanent. Society doesn't want you holding this power in your hands, because a man who understands his worth becomes uncontrollable. And if that's you, comment, "I lead now," like this video, subscribe to the channel to help wake more men up, and grab your copy of the Stoic Relationship Blueprint now. It's linked in the comments, and it's going to save you years of regret.